Our year started off rather dry, but as we headed into the months of May, June, and July, it's like a hose was turned on to full blast. We got plenty of rain and the corn crops really enjoyed it, but as we headed into the fall months, as we hit August, that hose was shut off completely. And that's really impacted plants like soybeans, who at this point need that moisture towards the end of the summer to completely thrive.
As any farmer will tell you, it's all about the timing of the rain, not necessarily the quantity, because year to date, we're close to normal here in Rockingham and Augusta counties, Page County, Shenandoah County. We're very close to normal for year-to-date rainfall, but it's all about the timing.
That timing is key because of how the soybean plant grows. Rain during the summer helps the plant itself to grow and mature, while the rain in the fall helps the pods actually fill with beans. And Ishi feels that any rain now is too little, too late.
I think we are past the point of no return with soybeans, because even if we were to get an inch of rain this week, an inch of rain next week, the plants are pretty much done with developmental stages.
Even so, farmers like Lyndon Heatwell of Cherry Grove Farms are grateful for what they did get, even with the stressors of a tough growing season.
I feel fortunate. These beans look pretty good for as little of rainfall as we have had.
The sudden moisture shutoff was a surprise to Heatwell, but he says that he was prepared with fertilizer and biologics, which helped the crop withstand the stresses of dry weather.
I've done many side-by-side trials. The pod count, pod fill, with the extra fertility and the biologicals and the growth stimulants makes a big difference.
Even with the help, the evidence of the dry weather can still be seen in the beans, with some pods only having 2 inside as opposed to the healthy 3. But despite not having a perfect crop, Heatwell remembers his crop failure last year and the struggles of the year before, and reflects on how things could be very different.
Yes, it wasn't a perfect growing season, but it was a lot better than the last 2 years.
Working hard for you, Grant Coleman, WHSV.
Today I'm in Kieseltown at the Every Soul Acres Christmas Tree Farm, where I'm surrounded by about 25,000 Christmas trees in the ground. I got to speak with the owner about how the weather has affected the growing season for her Christmas trees, but also her business as a whole.
As a Christmas tree farmer, we're in it for the long haul. And most of the time when I educate the children come from field trips or our families that come in, I say, what I plant today, I'm in it for a long time with you.
Wolf has been a Christmas tree farmer since 2017, and she says that she has losses during tough seasons like any other farmer. But with Christmas trees, the timeline is a bit different.
It takes me 6 to 10 years to grow the tree. So if you see, a 90% loss in seedlings for 2 consecutive summers, and then a big loss this year at the end of the season, that's going to affect most farmers come 3 to 6 years from now.
With that idea in mind, Wolf understands that her investment at the beginning of a growing season is fully reliant on how Mother Nature decides to act.
The way I see it is if I plant 4,000 seedlings in March and I look at a projection over 6 to 10 years, I always want to make sure there's plenty of trees to harvest. So even if we lose a lot of trees, I plant a lot of trees. We plant more in the anticipation of loss so that we still have an abundance for our customers every season.
As for the recent winter weather, Wolf says the trees love it, and the customers are able to have a unique Christmas tree buying experience.
People were able to come out, the trees were covered in snow. We took a lot of great videos of it. It's like magical, really. It's the winter wonderland. If I could just ask for the perfect Hallmark story, we've had it this year.
Working hard for you, Grant Coleman, WHSV.
Well, corn like this is certainly impressive. At over 9 feet for many of the stalks, this would not have been possible with the little amount of rain we had last summer. I got a chance to speak with the farmer who's in charge of all this corn to talk about how he's feeling now that we've gotten some very substantial rain and his corn is as healthy as ever.
We were already in a severe drought. And I remember planting, the corn was planted in May, the pumpkins we began planting June the 1st, and from that point till the end of June, we only had about a ½ inch of rain.
The lack of rain was not only detrimental to the health of his crops, but Myers says it heavily affected his fall activities as well. Corn was only peaking at around 5 feet, making for a much different experience in his popular corn maze.
People still had a great time and they loved the maze. They still got lost in it. But for the first time in 25 years, I could see their heads going through the corn.
But this year is different. His hopes are higher and all of his crops are rebounding in a big way.
We started planting in May and up into about the middle or third week in June. The pumpkins are up, the germination is great, the moisture is perfect.
And this excitement isn't just from Myers. He says that the business is a team effort with his wife Lynette, and when he's excited, she is too.
We're pretty good shape. We're pretty green. The water table's decent. Our pond is full. We're excited. So as long as we're getting rain, you got a happy farmer and a lot of happy farmers in the valley.
Working hard for you, Grant Coleman, WHSV.
Coming out of summer, we saw a drought fall upon the area, but heading into winter, this is a type of scene that we like to see. Periodic snows that help to leak moisture into the ground and replenish the water table as we head into spring.
According to the U.S. Geological Survey, we're down 3.5 feet in the water table over the last 30 days, and we're down about 12 feet. Matter of fact, just a little over 12 feet in the past 90 days.
We won't see major drought improvement from our snowfall until later down the road.
It is very much still a drought situation because a drought is a long-term meteorological thing. It takes weeks and weeks and weeks to come out of a drought.
But with an active winter ahead, Ishii is optimistic.
Snow is a very beneficial thing for farms in the Shenandoah Valley. It immediately restores topsoil moisture. It also provides a little bit of nitrogen that acts as a fertilizer, and long-term it helps to replenish the water table or the groundwater.
Now, a situation like this is a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, farmers are able to see stable moisture for their farms and crops, but on the other hand, they're having to take things a bit slower and aren't quite as efficient.
I like that old saying, slow is fast. On a day like today, you can't get in a hurry because when you do, you're gonna slipping and sliding around and making mistakes and bad things can happen.
Despite the delays, Green, like many farmers, is grateful for the moisture.
Coming out of a dry fall, we're really grateful to have any kind of moisture we can get those groundwater levels up and kind of just refresh everything.
In fact, he wouldn't mind seeing even more.
I hope we don't get too much to make things dangerous for people, but you know, if we can have 5 or 6 snowfalls like this, I think that's a pretty good year.
Working hard for you, Grant Coleman, WHSV.
Well, if you're not new to the state of Virginia, you know that our springs don't always bring fair weather. In fact, we saw temperatures earlier this week dip well below freezing overnight, which caused concern for many vineyards across the area. I had the chance to speak to one of them today to see what they did to prepare for it and how they came out after the freeze.
After 8 years of operation in the valley, sub-freezing overnight low temperatures in the spring aren't a surprise to Bricks and Columns co-owner Stephanie Pence. But that doesn't make her any less concerned when it happens.
Anytime it gets below 32, we always worry about damage to the leaves. If the leaves are damaged, our crop then is impacted by that.
To avoid widespread damage to the leaves, when Pence sees a freeze in the forecast, she uses a method that takes advantage of some cool plant biology.
We spray with potassium. So potassium gets into the cellular tissue of the leaves and it lowers the freezing point. So we've done that a couple times and we've had some success with that.
And while that has worked well for Pence, it's not always 100%.
And so just a couple of degrees makes a huge difference. That cold air inversion is such a big part of this story. The upper vineyard recorded a low of 23, while their lower vineyard recorded a low temperature of 21. That couple of degree difference made a huge difference in how many leaves survived the cold.
Every spring, honeybees across the area leave their hives to pollinate the surrounding fauna. But at the same time, farmers are spraying their fields with pesticides. With all of that spraying, how do they avoid harming the bees in their hives? Our meteorologist Grant Coleman tells us how.
I'm here at Green Acres Apiary, not only surrounded by thousands and thousands of bees in these hives, but also acres and acres of field around me that have to be sprayed with pesticides. Now, how, you might ask, do they avoid the bees when they're surrounded by the fields when they spray those pesticides? Well, there's an app for that, and it's called BeeCheck.
It allows the beekeeper to pinpoint his bees on a map so that anybody that goes on to BeeCheck can see where there are bees in the area.
Bill Gardner has been in the beekeeping business for over 50 years now and has a wealth of experience. Although the app has only been around for a few years, he says it comes in handy for both private and commercial use.
Either contact me or they'll get the farmer to contact me 24 hours in advance to let me know that, hey, we're going to be spraying across the road because that's within my flight range of my bees.
He says that normally his fields won't be sprayed if the bees are downwind from that area, but that 24-hour advance notice is extremely helpful in maintaining the health of his bees if a neighbor decides to spray their fields.
I'll come out and put wet sheets on the beehives to contain them under the wet sheets until typically a pesticide dries in 2 hours. So after a couple of hours after they spray, I'll come take the sheets off and then they can fly and go about their business for the day.
Even with BeeCheck and precautions, Gardner says he's still had mishaps in the past that have affected his bees.
You can tell if it's a pesticide or herbicide because they won't quite make it all the way back to the hive, or they'll make it to the landing board and they'll die, and their proboscis, their tongue, is hanging out.
While not foolproof, Gardner says it's a great resource and hopes that more commercial sprayers would take the time and use it. For more information, you can check out BeeCheck.org. Working hard for you, Grant Coleman, WHSV.